lot of developers out there who take our criticisms of their products on social media way too personally, and it seems that that is happening right now with Relooted because the CEO and creative director is responding to the backlash, and it's just making this team look worse. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, this game has had a lot of controversies surrounding it, from the tone of the game, the characters of the game, even to the way that they've handled things on social media. On their Steam forums previously, yes, they did lock down threads, they did remove threads. It didn't seem like they were really willing to listen to some of their critics, and as I say in most of my videos on titles like this, even though I have criticized them on this channel and I have played Relooted on the channel already, I seem to be one of the few people who actually gave this title a shot, I'd be willing to sit down and have a conversation with them because I am willing to have, I don't know, adult discussions with people who actually are willing to do the same. But in the case of individuals like this, it's very hard to judge whether or not they're actually going to sit down, have a conversation, and not just turn it into an insult game. But apparently now Ben Mearns, the CEO and creative director of Relooted, has responded to the backlash the game has been receiving on the Steam forums. So this is not him coming out, admitting that, hey, this game isn't going to be for everybody, or maybe that they haven't handled everything in the best way possible. Nothing like that. Someone had posted, this is the Steam forum for Relooted, and it's all grave dancing, right-toid, culture war incels. Do you think Valve is ever going to crack down on this shit? They allow this nonsense to fester on their platform, providing hate mongers a soapbox to spew vile, racist bullshit. Deeply frustrating. And Ben had commented, based on the torrid stuff they mark as not against terms of service when it's reported, I doubt they have much interest in ever addressing this, which is particularly awful considering you can't turn off forums as a developer. The OP responded with, one solution I've seen other devs use is to lock the whole forum and leave a single locked thread, pointing to a platform they have actual moderation power over. Maybe that's an option for y'all. Either way, deeply sorry you have to deal with this bullshit. 2014 never ends. And Ben said, we'll look into it. Part of the issue, though, is that if you use your moderation powers too much as a dev, then there is a cottage industry of YouTubers who make videos about your forums, and then that drives more bad faith actors there. Went through this when we announced just it becomes a feedback loop of never-ending new accounts dropping in, basically impossible to moderate the volume that occurs when that happens. Now, this term has actually been popping up a lot over the past 6 to 8 months, and that is cottage industry. So they say there's a cottage industry of YouTubers, which doesn't make sense in this context because cottage industry basically equals independent or family owned. So let's say my dad owns a textile business in my local hometown, that would be cottage industry. Oh, I'm a painter who works out of my own studio, that is cottage industry. And while yes, I myself am independently running my content, right? I'm deciding what platforms to publish on, what videos I want to make, what live streams I want to do. Ultimately, I do still have an account via Google AdSense, and that means I'm technically working in a way you could view it as under one of the biggest companies in the world. So I don't really know if you could consider being like an online content creator cottage industry. I've never heard it used in that context, so I don't think that makes sense. But then they say there's a cottage industry of YouTubers. What the fuck does that mean? Does that mean we're the Amish and every YouTuber is part of this Amish type community? No, that doesn't make any sense. So he's just throwing terms at the wall, and I think that that is very important to point out here because even he doesn't know what he's saying. But regardless, yes, when you censor people, it is going to land you in a controversy. When you are censoring people in things like forums, unfairly removing threads and banning them, that is an issue. Now, yes, there are always going to be bad apples in every bunch. I'm sure there are people who are saying like really racist things to them, and that is not okay at all whatsoever. It's not okay to wish threats and like death upon people. But if that was happening, those posts would be reported in mass by people who actually see the problems, and then those would be removed by Valve. So technically, what Valve is doing is just saying, yeah, unless it is actually like illegal content or breaking the rules, like, and it is threats, then it has to stay. And that is what Ben here seems to be mad about. And like I said earlier, like I'll say now, if Ben wants to have a conversation, I'm more than willing to do that. But we do know that a lot of developers and moderators, they constantly push the limits. And in this case, it just really seems that everybody affiliated with this game is very upset that they're being criticized. This game was a bad concept. It was a bad idea. It has bad visuals. I suppose I will say the gameplay is decent. I think that it runs really smoothly. I think that the level design is okay, but I don't think that they are, in my opinion, able to make up for that based on the lies that they tell in this game and the way that they present information. Because this is an E for everyone game, so they want everybody to play it. They want kids to play this game. But the issue with that is that the information they are providing to you about like African artifacts and African historical figures, they are lying or they are withholding information that paints a full story. They don't go into the details about these different African subcultures if that subculture has to do with something like slavery, right? There were Africans who did partake in slave trades. There's no mention of that within this game. So they're only giving you selective facts based on their ideological preferences, which is insane. And that is another big reason why they deserve to get called out. But well, they don't really care. They're not going to address that because they believe what they are doing is good and okay, and that anybody who's criticizing them is some sort of like ist or phobe. And this OP does say it's a Steam forum for Relooted, and it's all grave dancing, rightoid, culture, war, incels, and I can't believe we're reverting back to the days of 2014. Yes. I get that you are obsessed with Gamergate. I get that you think your activist ilk should have been able to control this industry more all of these years later, but newsflash, that didn't happen. And you are mad that people have not bought into your ideological bullshit at this point, that people are not all on board with the left leaning propaganda you're constantly shoving in our faces, and that, oh my gosh, people actually are their own individuals. So, yeah, not a good look for any of these people, but this game clearly didn't take off. Maybe this is why we're seeing so many of these like posts now and why he made this statement, because clearly the backlash on social media and the comments in the Steam thread should not have been enough to kill this game if there was a big audience interested in it. IGN had made one single post weeks ago that got over 600,000 views. Where's the modern audience? Where are your supporters? Where are the people who you thought were going to show up to buy this? Well, they didn't show up to buy it, and they weren't interested in it because this isn't a good experience at all whatsoever. And now Ben is being pointed at and laughed at online. Free speech is free speech. Screw them for trying to silence dissent just because they can't take it. And yeah, if you're going to create a product, you're going to become a social media influencer, you're going to become just a public figure, you do need to realize you do open yourself up for criticism, and when you're selling a product, that product can be criticized. When the topic of discussion turns to ways to stop people from talking bad about your game, it is generally a sign that there is something bad about your game. He is aware that he can turn the entire forum into owners only forum, preventing people who don't own the game from commenting, right? Well, I think that he was just hoping that more of this discussion was going to lead to like their game getting more attention. And I think maybe he just left it open because he wants to play the victim. And this team wants to be victims because this entire game's concept is black people are victims. That, oh, the museums and the evil white men stole from their cultures and stole their artifacts and won't give them back. So the entire game is black people being victims. And so they want to present themselves as victims in this case. That's the way that it comes across to me, at least. He seems to understand attempting to stop the signal makes it stronger, 1 point for that at least, considering how these idiots gaslight how priceless African artifacts are lost, destroyed, or end up in private collections because a warlord sold them off is the cherry on top. Guess they never heard of the illicit black market. Sounds like potential customers can't have opinions, just consume product. Also, he's dead wrong about the Steam forums moderation, but he's clearly not interested in listening to anything, so yeah, looks like he's not taking this backlash too well, and now he's taken a blue sky to voice how unhappy he is. So I'll be keeping my eye on this, but well, Relooted isn't doing very good. It seems he's not taking its failure very well, and overall, this is just a massive L. And if they do lock down the Steam forums and make it owners only, I think it's going to go very poorly for them. But that's all that I had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.